added, genes that were removed, genes that were modified to stabilize your chromosome number 2. I made a little movie because some people are more right-brained. 2 chromosomes come together and there are genes that are added, there are genes taken away. This does not happen in nature. And it cannot happen in nature. And this is only one example. We also have a mystery of human chromosome number 7, all these other things going on. I'm not going to be able to address them all today. So, this has led science to what now is saying the timing, the fact that this happened. Just take a wild, psychic, intuitive Santa Fe Unity guess. When did this happen? Just take exactly 200,000 years ago when we appeared. We appeared 200,000 years ago. Chromosome 7 was modified 200,000 years ago so that we can have complex speech. I didn't get to that. Chromosome 2 was merged and modified 200,000 years ago so that we have self-regulation, sympathy, empathy, compassion. Exactly 200,000 years ago. The timing, the precision with which these things happen, and the end result, us, all suggest something beyond evolution. This has led science to what now is called forbidden territory. I love that. Forbidden territory. Because they have no mechanism to embrace this, because all of these suggest an intentionality or some kind of intervention. And as a scientist, I have to say to you, it appears that there is an intervention. We don't know who or what, and we won't until we allow science to follow that path and find out. Now, the indigenous traditions of the world all have a story of who we are. It's not science, but there's a common theme. Whether I go into the Andes Mountains of Bolivia, Peru, or if I go into Tibet, or I go to India or Nepal, or when I'm with the Aborigines in Australia, or all through the Pueblos here in the desert Southwest, and over into Arizona and down into the native peoples of Florida, all of them say we are the product of an intervention. And it means different things to different people. It's not the product of an evolutionary process. It means that we are not necessarily the product of an accident of biology, a fluke mutation, that there is an intentionality. And if there is an intentionality, it implies a purpose. And that's what brings us here today. It implies that we have this extraordinary potential to fulfill some purpose. How do we, and I just want to do that, I put this in this morning after I got out of the shower, I was thinking about you guys. If you're not scientific and you're saying, well, what are the chances that this could have happened? What are the odds this could have happened? Sir Fred Hoyle, British astrophysicist, he says this beautifully. He said the odds of the DNA forming, of all this DNA happening by chance, randomly, it's the equivalent of a tornado. I'm so happy to be in an English language. I just tried this through a translator in Germany. It didn't work. So I get to say this to you in English. Because you all know what a tornado is. This is so awesome. The equivalent of a tornado sweeping through a junkyard, and when the tornado leaves behind, there is a Boeing 747 one of these in the debris. Now, what are the odds that that is going to happen randomly when a tornado sweeps through? So, even what are the chances of one wing are going to happen? It's not going to happen. That is how unlikely. I'll just tell you, if you're scientists in the room, here it is. Scientists tell us that when the odds of something occurring are 1 in 10 to the 400th, it's considered impossible. The odds of the DNA forming the way that it has formed are 1 in 10 to the 600th, which means it's more than impossible that this is a random event. You and I are the product of something so extraordinary. And our society has done its very best to create a story that leads us away from the extraordinary potential that lives within you, to become an extraordinary, even more extraordinary being in the presence of those who love you and look to you for guidance and inspiration to create the strongest possible families and communities and to transform nations. That is our potential. And that's the story that now is being lost. All right, in the battle. So the question, how do we awaken that extraordinary potential? I could go on more and more, and I could show you all kinds of discoveries, and I do that in longer programs. There is a book that used to be called Human by Design. The publisher changed the title to emphasize this aspect. So the title is now called The Science of Self-Empowerment. I prefer Human by Design title. I think it's a stronger title, but I understand where the publisher's coming from with this. I just want you to know. So if you see the book, The Science of Self-Empowerment, it's exactly the same book as Human by Design. All right? How do we awaken this potential? Discovery number 5. Some of you know this, and I know that you talk about this every week, maybe not the science. In this room, 1991, scientists discovered 40,000 specialized cells in the human heart. They're called sensory neurites. They're like brain cells, but they're not in the brain, they're in the heart. This is published in the peer-reviewed journal Neurocardiology, 1994, Oxford University Press. 40,000 sensory neurites. Your heart has its own brain. This is important because those neurites think independently of your cranial brain. They learn, they remember, they feel, and they sense independently of your cranial brain. That means every experience you've ever had, all of your ecstasy and all of your trauma, you've experienced in your brain as well as in your heart. And when you go to heal those traumas, if you're not addressing that heart specifically, that healing may be incomplete. It can happen, but it may not be as complete as you would like for it to be. But this is what gives us this extraordinary potential. I'm just going to read this. This is from a peer-reviewed journal, the Journal of Alternative and Complementary Medicine, 2004. There's compelling evidence to suggest that the physical heart is coupled to a field of information that is not bound by the classical limits of time and space. This is where prayer comes in. When you communicate through your heart and not your mind, your brain, I've got 22, right?
Sure.
Okay.
We don't have to go through, right?
No, I'm going really fast here. Because I did it for 40 minutes. So. No, I want to honor the protocol in my community here. So, I mean, we can do this all day. But this field of information is what has now been confirmed through the CERN experiments in Geneva. They know that field is out there. It's no longer a theory. It's there. We communicate with this field through the neurons in our heart and our brain. But here's the deal. Your brain is a polarity organ. In polarity, you'll always have a right and a wrong in your brain. Good and bad, success, failure, worthy, not worthy. And your ego will run those loops until you're crazy. This is the value of moving into the heart, because the heart is not a polarity organ. The heart generally has an intelligence, well, it does have an intelligence. It will generally answer you very, very quickly. When you query the heart, how do we go about doing that? Well, this is where your self-regulation from chromosome 2 comes in. You're the only form of life that can do this on demand. 2 separate organs, heart and the brain, they both have neurons, but they may be merged into one potent system. 2 organs, one system. We call it heart-brain harmony, or technically it's called heart-brain coherence. When we create a very, very specific effect, and Brindleman, I know, works with you all, those of you that come here every Sunday, when we create a very specific effect in the heart within the presence of a shift of awareness and focus, and you send 0.1 hertz from the heart to the brain, that is where the action is. That's a scientific term. That's where the action is. All right? So what happens? Well, let me just show you. These are neurons in a living human brain. You've all seen these before. And look, can you see how they're all firing randomly? You're actually watching someone think right now. These are random. See, there's a random thought. How long is he going to talk? What am I going to do for lunch? Is it still raining? Oh, is it still raining? All right? These are random thoughts. What would happen if you could harness all of those neurons and you determine how they fire simultaneously? That's called coherence. I'm going to show you what it looks like. This is a brain that is going to fire over 90% of the neurons simultaneously. Watch what happens here. I'll set this into motion. I know the light's shining on it. Watch right up here. Not there, not there, not there, right there. Watch what happens. Boom, look at that. Wow. Over 90% of those neurons are firing. That is coherence. That's coherence between the heart and the brain. This is a new technology. It's called the glass brain. It allows us to look at coherence within the human brain, and this is exactly what's happening. This is a living human brain, and you're actually seeing the scans of being able to create very specific kinds of coherence inside the human brain. How do we do this? This is going to bring it right on home to all of you that are with us every Sunday. And if you're not with us every Sunday, it's going to be very, very simple. The organization, the Institute of Heart Math, pioneering research organization located in Northern California, exploring the power of the human heart in unconventional ways. We know the heart is a pump, it's much more than that. I'm not their employee, I am affiliated with them, I've worked with them since the year of their inception. And we tour together. If you're on their webinars, and you'll see me advertise for them, and you'll see us, I'm speaking with some of them in Arizona in February, actually. They have refined techniques based on laboratory experience and indigenous experience into 3 very simple steps that you can do in your living room. Please don't do this while you're driving or operating heavy machinery. That's a head. Really, you want to be be in a safe place when you do this. 3 steps, I'll just tell you what they are, and then let's have this experience to celebrate our humanness and who or whatever is responsible for this extraordinary potential within us. I think the way to honor that is by embracing what we were given and developing it to the greatest potential, the greatest capacity to bring the greatest good and the greatest love to this beautiful, beautiful world that we live in, this beautiful nation that we are in right now. A lot of people are trying to tell us something different. I've been all over the world. This is a beautiful, beautiful country, and the whole world is pulling for America right now. It's going through a tough time. It's a good, good country, and good, good people in this country. We all know that. Good people all over the world. I just want to say this to you. A lot of people, if you watch the media, it looks like the world is having problems. The only people having problems right now, people. We know how to care for one another. We know how to share resources, food, water, medicine. It's a handful of people in positions of power that are bumping chests. People of the world know how to love and care for one another. So I want you to know that. And the things we're talking about are so deeply embraced beyond the borders of America, sometimes even to a greater degree than it is here. So there is a movement embracing our humanness and the extraordinary potential that we have. And what we're about to do now is one way to celebrate that potential. When we harmonize the heart and the brain, it is like saying to your body, all systems go. All systems go. Because you are harmonizing all of the functionality in the body. You're optimizing your relationship to the magnetic field of the planet you live on. I didn't even get to talk to you about that, but I want you to know. That's where your healing begins. And when you harmonize the heart and the brain, you open a portal, a doorway to that field that is beyond the limits of physics as we know them. And that is where prayer comes in. It's what our ancestors always tried to tell us, is when we honor our bodies in this way, you open that doorway, that's where you ask the questions that no one else can answer. So let's go into this space today, and I'm going to invite you. Once we arrive, we'll set the table for the experience. And then the feast that comes is our ability to be able to ask a question. And I'm going to invite you, if it feels appropriate, I'm going to ask myself the same question. What is the greatest way that I can serve in this world on this day? You okay if we ask that question? And let's ask, not with your brain, let's ask and see what our heart says, all right? I need my audio. If I'm ready here, so what we're going to do, I love this, let's do it. So we covered a lot of ground, and I know I spoke a lot of words. Thank you for the opportunity to share. I think it gives us a deeper experience once we understand where our ability to harmonize the heart and the brain really comes from. So I'm going to just talk you through 3 steps. I'm going to invite you, if you have not already, close your eyes and allow your awareness to move from your thinking mind to your feeling heart. I'm going to do the same. And if it helps to gently touch your heart center with a couple of fingers or an open palm, I'm going to invite you to do that right now. Here's the reason. It's because your awareness will always go to the place on your body where you feel that touch. So when you touch your heart center, you wonder, how do I focus in my heart? The sensation of the touch will draw your awareness automatically. You're right there. It's the first step. The second step. I'm going to invite you to slow your breathing. Just a little bit slower than you would typically breathe. And the reason is because when you slow your breath, this is a language without words to your body. It's a language that your body understands. And with your breath slowing, you are saying to your body, I am safe. I am safe. And in this land, in this place, in this building, in this room with these people, I believe that we are safe. So that's our second step. I invite you to breathe a little slower than usual, maybe 5 seconds on the inhale with me. Let's do this together. Begin. Release. Inhale. Release. Let's feel that shift in your body. Inhale again. Release. And if you keep breathing at just about that pace. It's the second step. The third step, I'm inviting you to do something that no other form of life can do on demand. I'm inviting you to have a feeling because you choose to have a feeling regardless of what the world is giving you to respond to. This is where you find your mastery. The ability to create a feeling in your heart because you choose to feel in your heart. What the scientists have found is that if you can feel one of the following 4 feelings, it will typically work for everyone. If you can feel gratitude for anything or anyone, appreciation for anything or anyone, care, compassion. Gratitude is very easy for me, and that's what I'm going to do today because I'm so grateful for the opportunity to be here with you and this family in this beautiful place that we call Santa Fe. So if you can feel that feeling, to the best of your ability, I'm inviting you to feel the feeling as if it's coming from the place that you touch for your heart center, as if you're breathing from the place of the touch. It's all coming from the heart. Let's do this together. Remember to breathe. And with these 3 steps, you lay the foundation, you open the door to a vast array of potentials that you may launch from this state of being. Automatically, your immune system is being strengthened right now. Automatically, your longevity enzymes are being awakened right now after 3 minutes of what you're doing right now. So I'm going to invite you to take this opportunity to harmonize the heart and the brain. 2 organs become one system in open communication with a field that is not bound by time and space. And I invite you from the place that you're touching to ask the field the question. Begin the question with the words, my heart. My heart. How may I best serve my life and my world on this day? how may I best serve my life, my world, on this day? And allow the answer to come to you. Don't chase the answer. Allow it to come from your heart. And the answer is typically brief, concise, maybe 1 or 2 words or a brief phrase. The answer is with you now, because your heart needs no introduction, no preamble, and never needs to justify the response. Anchor the answer. Anchor the answer with one more deep breath. Inhale. As you release that breath, I'm going to invite you to gently come back to this room. Get present. Open your eyes. How many have never done that before? Thank you for your honesty. Some have only done it halfway because your hand only went like this. How many received an answer from your heart about how you can serve today? Did anyone hear something that was unexpected? Okay, that's for you. I went over just a couple of minutes. I'm going to turn this back to our Unity staff. I appreciate the opportunity to share with you some of the science that's revealing the deep mysteries of who we are. And I personally believe that the way to honor the gift of our lives, our families, our communities, our societies, and our time in this world is to honor the extraordinary potential that lives within each of us. Let's see where that leads. Let's see what the best world is that we can create with that. Thank you all so very much.